Meanwhile, we want to turn now to another of former President Trump's legal issues. Last night, Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays announced charges for a host of Trump allies, including his former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, and personal lawyer Rudy Giuliani for the so-called fake electors scheme in 2020. Mr. Trump himself is identified in the indictment as an unindicted co-conspirator. Now, the indictment includes charges of conspiracy, fraud, and forgery for individuals who aided the illegitimate election certifications that were sent to Washington, claiming Trump won Arizona. President Biden carried that state by about 11,000 votes. Joining me now is NBC's Vaughn Hillyard, who is covering this story for us. So, Vaughn, break this down. Yet another legal angle that we are following on this extraordinary day. These charges from the Arizona Attorney General, what are they? Who do they impact? And could they ultimately ensnare the president?
Right. This all has to do with that alternate slate of electors scheme. And notably, Chris Mays didn't come into office until last year, January of 2023. She won a close race in November of 2022. A Republican who did not investigate this scheme had served in the 2 years after the 2020 election. But what Chris Mays' investigation led to was a sprawling indictment, not only against the 11 actual electors in Arizona that included the likes of former GOP chairwoman Kelly Ward in the state, but also current RNC committeeman Tyler Boyer, who is also the chief operating officer of that Charlie Kirk group called Turning Point USA, but also the likes of Boris Epshteyn, right? Boris Epshteyn continues to have a prominent role in this 2024 campaign. He is somebody who has been the legal advisor to Donald Trump, but you've also got Christina Bobb named in this indictment. She was just brought on last month in a former role as legal counsel for election integrity for the RNC. And so these are folks that are still very much a key and active part of Trump's current political operation. Yet, for the efforts dating back to 2020, Chris Mays, over the course of her investigation, had made the commitment that she wanted to further investigate and potentially bring charges as a signal that folks should not break the law going into the future, Kristen.
You know, Vaughn, you take me to my next, and I think what is really one of the central questions here, which is how does this all impact Donald Trump? All of these people in his orbit have been indicted. He's an unindicted co-conspirator. But ultimately, what do these charges mean for him? Could he ultimately be indicted here as well?
It's a good question. It depends on the extent to which they could get cooperating agreements from some of these individuals. You know, you have Kenneth Chesebro, who we believe was somebody that was likely granted immunity from Chris Mays. He is not one of these defendants here. And so for Donald Trump, you know, this is not necessarily the end of this Arizona investigation here, but also the details that outlined in this indictment are quite significant, including one that John Eastman had placed a phone call to Rusty Bowers, who folks will recall was the Republican Speaker of the House at the time that all of this was going down. And the indictment alleges that John Eastman urged him to work with the state legislature to decertify Arizona's election results, send the Trump slate of electors to Washington to be counted, and then let the courts settle it from there. Of course, Rusty Bowers did not move to decertify the results, nor did Governor Doug Ducey, another Republican who met the scorn of Donald Trump. But this was ultimately an indictment that extended beyond just those 11 Arizonans, but one that really hits at the core of not only the past Trump operation, but those that are still have significant roles in his current team.
And Vaughn, just big picture, there have been indictments for the so-called fake electors in other states, from Georgia to Michigan, Nevada. How are those cases progressing? What's the update there?
Right. Those cases are progressing in Georgia and as well as in Michigan. And, you know, I think that the Georgia case in a lot of ways laid a foundation for Michigan and Arizona to bring these charges. But the Georgia Fulton County case, Fani Willis even included direct references to efforts by the likes of John Eastman and Kenneth Chesebro, alleged architects of this scheme, and directly cited in her lawsuits or conspiracy lawsuit the actions that they took in Arizona. And, you know, I think if May, when we're talking about the largeness of this, Kristen, you're dealing also with the fact that, you know, Donald Trump has not only not denied so many of the actions that took place, but in many ways, a lot of this happened out in the public eye, right? The Republican Party of Arizona, they literally videoed themselves signing this certificate that they went and sent to Washington. They didn't try to hide a lot of what is alleged in this indictment, but instead they embraced this as part of their effort to promote Donald Trump to potentially even be named the president on January 6th.
All right. Well, we will continue to watch closely as it all plays out. Vaughn, as always, fantastic reporting. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.